Unfiltered podcast with your hosts, Kitu Kothari and Deepam Jain. In this podcast, we dig deep into the life experiences of our guests to connect the dots between their upbringing and what they're doing today. Today, we have special guest Kunal Sehgal. Kunal, if you want to quickly introduce yourself.
Hi, Ketul. Hi, Deepam. So I actually work for a fund. I actually work for a London-based debt fund. I have been working in finance for the last 1 decade or so. And Deepak and I actually happen to be from the same college, although different courses, different batches. But that's how we met first time online. But unfortunately, we never met in college. We met first online about I think 10, 11 years back, and that's
Mhm.
since then I've been following Deepam and his content, and he has been following me and my quote unquote content. So
Mhm.
that's the common connection there. Uh, and apart from my fund finance, whatever job that I do, I like to be, I like to try to be funny online, and I started doing that since the age of Orkut, and I'm not sure if that used to be a big thing in US, but it was definitely big when I was in school back in India, here in India. And then from Orkut to Facebook to Twitter, I've tried it all, and my current battlefield of words is through LinkedIn, wherein I have a knack to catch the cringiest content on internet and outrage about it sometimes. So that's what I do. That's
Awesome,
what I do.
awesome, Kunal. So, could you go back a little bit, if you don't mind? Where did you grow up? Early upbringings, early motivations. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that? And if you can find a way to connect with what you're doing today, that will be amazing as well.
Sure, sure. So I mean, typical middle class Indian family. That
Mm-hmm.
and that itself, that the phrase itself is so typical that you never know what
Yeah.
middle class in India is. But yeah, typical middle class Indian family in one of the outskirts of Delhi,
Mm-hmm.
so called Ghaziabad, which is very famous for different reasons, which is why I see Deepam is laughing, but not so much Ketul, because Ketul probably doesn't have much context on that. But that's where I grew
Ketul,
up.
it's sorry to interrupt. It's like the Bronx of New York.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, a lot of
So yeah.
shootings happening, and it's always in the news for some reason or the other. Not good. Sorry,
And these
carry on.
guns are not licensed in Ghaziabad, unlike US. So that's where I grew up. But it
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. I mean, very basic schooling up till class 10th. I studied in what they call missionary school in India. That's where I
Mm-hmm.
studied. I where I mean everyone is a topper. I used to score like 95% in most of my classes and still be like 25th, 23rd rank in a class of 50 people. So that's how
Wow.
competitive. Yeah, that's
Wow.
how competitive it used to be, and that's when I learned that studies is not where I would be able to make a girlfriend from, or or impress women of my age back then. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it was in class 8th or 9th when I started to. I mean, I was made monitor a couple of times, and monitor is like a prefect in school. I'm not sure what it's called, what that position of power is called in the US, but I guess you get the point.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the main duties of daily duties of a monitor or a prefect used to be writing a quote or a quotation at the top of the blackboard or the whiteboard, and that's when I used to fuck around with actual quotations and make it controversial in a way. So like I remember one of the first such instances was when there's a quotation called you can take a donkey to the water, but you can't make him drink. You can take a boy to the school, you can't make him think. So I think I
Mm-hmm.
made some wordplay on that, and that was kind of lewd, and my class teacher observed it, and then I mean, obviously, I had to resign from that position in back in class 8. So
Hey,
that
you
that
went out with a bang. You went out with a bang. I'm sure people
yeah.
remember that though.
Yeah. So
Okay,
uh,
interesting.
that's when it started, and I mean, I'm that's when I realized that I'm a couple of things. That one, I'm an attention whore of sorts. And two, I think I can be funny, and people like people who are funny. They tend to be friends with them. Although
Awesome.
back then, I mean, yeah. So that's when it started, and it then just, I think that's when I inculcated my funny side, and worked hard on it, and still keep working hard on it. So
Right,
yeah,
right, right. Of course.
that
Yeah, so
yeah.
basically you started with an actual wall, like as a post or Facebook wall, and that's that's the kind of the OG Ketul.
Yes.
OG
Yeah,
medium of
yeah,
communication that
yeah,
you spread it out to the world.
correct.
Awesome.
So, so from humble beginnings to now being a full-out comedian.
Yeah. So I'm not yet a full out comedian. I have tried my hand at stand up comedy. I've done what, like six. I've been on stage for about 6 7 times. With I've written 3 4 full 5 minute 7 minute sets. That's how you start on in stand up comedy. You're given 3 to 5 minute slot,
Mhm.
and you're given one of the worst positions to be in a roster of, let's say, 7 8 people. Typically, a starting someone who is starting out in stand-up comedy is given first or second slot, so that
Mhm.
from that, I mean, for a couple of reasons. So, it's always the best guy who ends a show, who's the showrunner. Showrunner typically comes at the end of the show in anything,
Mhm.
so so that everyone goes and leaves on a high. And second is, for people who are starting up, there's no huge you know barrier. So if a top ranked comedian is starting the show, then suddenly no one is interested in what you're saying as a new stand up comedian. So that's the
That
reason.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And fortunately, or I don't know, unfortunately, my first ever set, the first time I ever got on stage, was a super duper hit, and it got laughs more than, I would say, like, people who had done stand-up comedy for like 6 7 8 years back then. And I actually did not win that show. I was the runner up, but I think that's the biggest high ever I have ever gotten from my material. And then
That's awesome.
I tried that set about 4 5 more times in different parts of city in Mumbai, and I never got that kind of laugh. And then that's when I
Mhm.
thought that I cannot do this routine for a full time career or whatever. So I
Right, right.
sometimes go on stage. It stopped in during pandemic years 2020 21, but I don't think I'm a full time stand up comedian or even aspire to be anymore.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah, no, I've seen your routine. It was definitely on the funnier side.
Yeah,
And yeah, if you ever go back to it, I would definitely encourage you to do that. It will be a lot of fun. So, going back to the topic that we were
yeah,
discussing before, right? You started, writing on the school boards, and that's the actual wall you started on. I think after that, when you joined our college, Shahid Sukhdev College of Business Studies, undergrad in University of Delhi, you made a page about the college. It's called
yeah,
Aap CB site hai.
yeah.
For our English listeners, it's called You Are a CB site, CBS site. So that's what the page name was about. So how did you get the idea? And you used to post a lot of funny and goofy stuff there, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of cringe stuff. Ketu, just a little bit background about our listeners. So our college was very unique in the sense that the people who got admitted to the college had gone through like a whole process of taking the test and interview and so on, and they used to come from all these big backgrounds. Like they studied at like large schools, and they come from upper middle class and so on. We had a lot of these as
Privilege.
well in college. Yeah, there's a lot of entitled people. There's a lot of like nice people who are very very talented. There's a lot of societies of different topics like music, dance, and then also SIFE, student free enterprise, and all of those things. So we had a lot of things going on in college. So we had many things to for Kunal to write about. So Kunal, with that background, how did you get the idea, and how did you go about writing all of that content?
Sure. Yeah. Just a couple of minutes of from class 10th to college. So our school, like I said, was a school of toppers, and I was very mediocre in that school. And fortunately, that school was only till class 10th. So there were still 2 years of schooling that I needed to do before getting into college. And
Mhm.
cut to from that very, very, very good school in my city to a very, very, very bad school. My father put me into a very contrasty school for 2 years called DAV school. That school was filled with goons and whatnot. So that's when I thought that okay, here is where I can outshine in studies where I always wanted to be. And I actually topped both class 11th and class 12th. And that's when I thought that I should be trying to get into one of the top colleges like yours and ours, Shahi Sukhdev College of Business Studies. And that's when I started preparing for it and I eventually got into it. But after getting
Mhm.
into it, I realized that, like you said, a lot of South Delhi people, I don't know what the equivalent is. I think 80% of our class of around 250 people were people like that, very rich backgrounds and very, very well-rounded personalities also. And I started
Mhm.
again feeling the same feeling which I had back in school, that I'm kind of a mediocre guy. I actually tried to get into a couple of societies, like the drama society and writing society, but I didn't get into them in the first shot. And in fact, I enrolled myself on the same day for with two different tokens, which was not allowed to get into drama society. I
Mhm.
didn't get to, and that's when I think the
Maybe that's
sour
why.
grape, the sour grape started to inculcate. And about a month from that, I made this page called Apsi Beside, and that was the rage back then. Facebook pages about colleges and whatnot. And
Right.
the OG of that page, of that nomenclature of aap dash hain, was aap chuti hain, which is like, which literally translates to you are a fucking buffoon. And
Okay, wow. Wow, okay.
yeah, so so aap CV site hain was about writing about college, but not in a very fondly like I was not fond of anyone in that college or that college societies itself. So
Yeah.
it was a response to that. And
Mhm.
suddenly I was they were like 23 societies and I was the 24th and the most famous society in that college perhaps.
That's actually really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it sounds like the content you're doing were all parodies and spoof type of content, right? It's like you're making fun of something that everyone is expected to, most people are expected to do, right? Most people are expected to go to college. You're making fun of college.
Yeah. And I'm not just making fun of college. I mean the studies, the teachers. I used to like the content of of what I was paying for actually. All this,
Mhm.
everything else was something that I was not a fan of. Probably because, like I said, I was not selected by any one of them. And I have always had the knack to like challenge something that is being worshipped or being taken very, very, very seriously. So uh, people shouting in streets as nukkad natak or street play societies very seriously, trying to very these are very, very, very rich people who claim to be changing the lives of village women. So you see the contrast and you still take it seriously. That's something that I couldn't wrap my head around.
I
So
mean, yeah.
those are the kind of things that I mean I used to feel very strongly about, and I used to make fun of them. And obviously, a lot of people used to send hate messages back then. I mean,
Wow.
whatever hate message a 20-year-old can send. Uh, and these were decent people, but still, I used to get hate messages, and I used to really enjoy them, reading them.
That's hilarious. So you had the exact opposite effect that people
Yeah,
that you would expect people to have. Instead of
yeah.
like feeling hurt by the hate messages, you're laughing at them. It's
I mean,
Because
I
hilarious.
think
I've never even taken myself seriously. I think so. That's the key to it.
right. And I don't remember if you revealed that you were behind that page, during the college.
No,
Did
no,
you
no.
reveal that?
I revealed
You
it
re-
within the first 10 days because I wanted to be very famous. I re- they were because in the first 10 days itself, a lot of people started guessing, and no one was guessing my name. That was the problem. So,
Oh,
so they thought that
wow.
one. So they were taking the names of very famous people within the first 10. I mean, this is 3 months into college, and Everyone has gotten some sort of status. Either they are somebodies or they are nobodies, and then there are people like me who are somewhere in between, trying to be either of the two at least. So and everyone was guessing that it's whatever. I won't take names. I mean whatever. They were like the famous people from the first 3 months of college, and no one was taking my name, so I had to come out of my college.
Yeah, so you weren't kidding when you said you liked the attention. You weren't kidding.
Yeah, I outed myself.
You should have done
And
teasers. You should have done teasers. You'd be like, I'll give you a hint. It's not this person. I'll give you a hint. It's not this person. It's like narrow it down and then do the unveiling. So
yeah,
it's actually
no,
the reason I say that is we're doing that right now. So with the podcast, the promotion we're doing with some of the episodes that we have coming out, we're doing teaser videos and teaser posts and all that kind of stuff right now. It just builds up the suspense.
yeah, it works for you because these people are somebody that you are interviewing, and people know them already. Unlike in my case, when even if I would have like uncovered my face, no one would have guessed who this guy is from class C section.
Yeah, but
Maybe.
so you know what I would have done? I would have I would have first done only half of your face or something like that to
Yeah,
really get people thinking. So it's like first say it's not this person, it's not this person, all the famous people that they're name dropping, right? First say it's not all these people, then do a partial reveal. Be like, you want to know who it is? Well, here's part of my face, and then you put just the face, or just the eyes, or something like that, and let's see who starts guessing. Because then what would end up happening is people are gonna look around and is like, wait, who looks like this? And they're gonna really start guessing, right? So
yeah,
it would actually make you more famous because like they're gonna
yeah,
eventually recognize who you are. They're gonna start talking about that, and then you reveal a little bit more. Be like, you know what? I'll give you another hint. My name starts with this letter and
yeah,
stuff like that. Like just do a slow unveiling so it builds up the suspense and your page becomes more and more popular.
yeah.
That's
Maybe
what
I mean that's how Bollywood movies typically show their item girl, item dance. They start with the feet.
That's true.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
right. You're right. When they
exactly.
first introduce, you're right. They start with the feet
Yeah,
and they gradually go
yeah,
up.
yeah. Suddenly you know that this is the girl I was waiting for. Yeah, I think I did not probably even do that, like showing half of my face, was because I was getting hate messages in my in my message box and not in the comment box. So if I showed half my
Okay.
face, everyone would have just called me ugly, and then that would have hurt me. So
Oh,
Oh.
okay.
that's something that I take
You
seriously.
can criticize my writing, but don't criticize my
Yeah,
body
yeah,
or whatever.
yes. Please, don't you dare do that.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So it
so that went. Yeah,
Mhm.
sorry, you were saying.
Go for it, go for it.
So that went well for like 3 years of my college, and that's what I guess everything of. I mean, this is very cliched, but I think these sort of things are very. These are the things that help you cope up with your quote unquote failures, small failures, whatever you have in school or college, of not getting into a society, of not being in the elite club, whatever. So I think that was my coping mechanism, and probably it still remains to be so. But although I think now I'm much more self-aware, and now I can, even see through my own bullshit. Like I can tell when I'm really trying to be funny. Like 3 minutes back, I was in this podcast. So anyway, so
I see.
So, Kunal, I have a question for you. So, like,
yeah,
if there was one thing you wanted to say about yourself that our listeners should know about, what would you say about yourself?
I think I'm. I'll say it in a very LinkedIn kind of way. I have 29 years of experience of not taking myself seriously. Yeah, and yeah, that's. I mean, I'm not a. I'm yeah. That's the main character trait of me is that I mean. I can joke about even the dearest thing, even the things that are very dear to people, like their parents, their love interests, and whatnot.
Yeah, not everybody understands that, right? Like
Yeah,
where it's
of
coming out
course.
of. So especially in the online format, right? So I think that's where it becomes important, like what you said
Yeah,
about yourself.
yeah. So I mean, definitely not. Most of the LinkedIn doesn't get it. There are very serious people on LinkedIn, and very stupid people on LinkedIn who just follow the trend. I think there are. My theory is that most people who are not self-aware and are really kind of stupid. They are the ones who run any kind of social media, be it LinkedIn, be it Instagram, and now even Twitter. And because you need an army of people to follow a trend very seriously and take themselves very seriously to make it trendy or to make it trend on any social media. And so anyone who is self-aware and who knows that they are nothing in that 7 billion people out there, they really can't change anything, they can't really influence anything. Anyone who is not self-aware can only call themselves an influencer. That's the case.
Wow, that's a. Some people might take a lot of offense on that, but I guess that
Hey,
probably okay.
divisive comments sell, bro. Divisive comments sell. Right? That's how. If you look at like some of the biggest promoters out there, the biggest marketing folks, right? Like Jake Paul. Are you familiar with Jake Paul, Kunal?
I don't think so.
Okay. So Jake Paul is actually this YouTuber, right? He's really, really big in the States.
Yes. Now, yeah, understood.
So
I think he also did MMA or I don't know, fight some
boxing,
sort of. He was also
boxing.
involved in. Yeah,
Yeah. But like him, for example, right? Everything he says is so controversial and people hate
yeah,
him for it. But at the same time, they can't stop watching.
yeah.
Right? People watch a lot of his content because he's just all over the place like that. He's just so controversial. So in general, being controversial sells. As long as you can do it in the
Probably.
right way that it does people don't hate you, then that's the best.
Yeah,
If you can be
yeah.
controversial without people hating you, that's the best.
Yes,
Yeah, I
I
think that's
agree
true
with
for
that.
the Indian matchmaking as well. Like, it's super trashy, but you can't stop watching it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
you can't stop watching it. I mean, if they took themselves a little bit seriously, it would not have worked the way it is working right now.
Right,
Yeah.
right. That makes sense. That makes sense. So,
And
Kunal,
people, I think people on just on your comment on Jake Paul, my take on that is people hate him and still can't stop watching him because it's the kind of soft BDSM that everyone wants on online. They, I I'll tell you what I mean by that. So when you're following something very rigorously and when you are part of the crowd online, which most of us are, suddenly there is this person who is anti everything that you feel so strongly about. He is challenging the way you think about social media or whatever. I don't know what he specifically talks about, but this is my third party analysis of why people hate him still they can't stop watching him is the kind of scolding that they require from you know some people. That's the soft BDSM. Anyway,
just a question on your. So, you would you say you are one of the OG trolls almost for Alex, or is that too much of an overstatement about your page and everything that else you do?
so I think the main difference between a troll and someone like me is trolls
Hmm.
typically don't want to show their face to the people who they are trolling. They want to
Right,
stay
right.
anonymous. And I, on the other hand, like I said, I mean, I wanted my face everywhere.
You want to be
Right.
famous, as you said earlier,
Yeah.
right? Good on, you
Yes.
want to be famous.
Yeah.
So
Right.
we'll
But
help you
but
to become
but
famous, bro.
one thing I want to make clear is I did not do. I mean, I did not write, or I do not still write controversial statements just for the sake of writing controversial statements. It's just what I feel about most of the things and most of the people in life.
Okay.
Nothing is sacred. Nothing is sacred.
Okay. Okay. That's a different way of putting it, but makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, Kunal, we want to give you an opportunity to plug some of your pages if you'd like. So I know you have some funny content you're putting out there, lots of puns, lots of, goofy stuff out there. Is there any pages you'd like to plug?
Currently, the only public profile that I have. I mean, my Instagram profile is private. My Facebook account is dead. So the only alive and public account that I have is LinkedIn. So people can search for me on LinkedIn, which is linkedin.com/in/Kunal Sehgal. That's where you can find me, and that's actually the biggest traction that I've ever got. It's like 8,000 followers is the most followers that I've ever had
Okay.
on any
Awesome.
social media. Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. So for everyone, for all the listeners here, that is, you want to go to linkedin.com/IN, KUNALSEHGAL. Again, that's KUNALSEHGAL. And you can give Kunal a follow on LinkedIn.
Yeah, thanks. And My title, my bio title is something that you can find me through, which is Forbes 30 under 30 reader. Like,
Okay, that's an
yeah,
interesting one. Okay.
yeah.
What else? There is other stuff as well, right, Kunal?
There's LinkedIn, LinkedIn, whatever, top voice muter. Yes, that's also something that.
So in general, I encourage everyone to at least check out Kunal's profile, and you can make the decision for yourself if this is the type of content you enjoy, and drop him a follow.
Excellent. All right, so I can actually read your profile. So let me just say, read out loud the subheading that you have on LinkedIn. So it's called Forbes for 30 under 30 reader, TED Talks viewer, LinkedIn top voice muter. So that's that's Kunal
Yeah.
Sehgal for you guys.
So,
So one thing that I wanted to touch upon, Kunal, is one of your posts recently went viral, right? It went on Reddit as well and made through Reddit LinkedIn channel as well. A lot of people shared it. It was I found it really funny. Can you talk a little bit more about that? What was the post and any
yeah.
idea that you came behind it? Hmm?
So that's that's one of the few posts actually in which I have posted a photo alongside what I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to write.
Right, right. Mm-hmm.
Uh, on LinkedIn, I mean, I don't know how much you follow LinkedIn. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, I don't know as closely as I do. So LinkedIn these days is promoting anything that has a picture on it, no matter the caption. No, does not matter what you have written in it. You could have, or whatever, you could have written a threat from ISIS in that and given a great photo of yours. It would still go viral on LinkedIn.
Wow, that's
So,
interesting.
and that is the reason I do not post a lot of pictures. That is exactly the reason I do not post a lot of pictures. Anything that is going viral, I try not to go along with the flow. But anyway, that is one of the few posts that I have given, that I've posted my picture about in.
Mm-hmm.
And in that picture, I just wanted to show off that I just went for an international holiday and then write something, whatever caption. And then the caption itself went viral. I think the caption read, I'm elated to announce the elation of my announcement, or whatever, something like that. I'm elated to announce the announcement of my elation. Yes, that's what the caption was. And again,
Yeah.
it's a
Mm-hmm.
fun, or whatever. It's a funny take on literally everything that's written on LinkedIn, because everyone is elated to announce something or the other every day. How is your life so happening? And definitely, it cannot be as happening as you are showing it on LinkedIn. And are you changing employers every day? I mean, because this caption, I'm elated to announce that I've joined this whatever new employer, was only reserved for people changing jobs initially when LinkedIn was launched. And then suddenly people
Right.
are elated about everything. So yeah, that was the joke on it. And someone posted it on this Reddit subreddit called LinkedIn Lunatics.
Oh, okay, that's funny. That's funny. So that's got
And
you trending all across a bunch of different platforms. There, that's funny.
yes, and that's when I got some new followers also. And I guess those are the very few followers within those 8,000, those who get me for what I do,
Yeah, but
those who
it's
understand that I'm a troll.
it's an interesting concept though, because right now the reach on LinkedIn is crazy.
Yes,
It's been like that for a while because people really like there's so many people that view LinkedIn, but then they don't log into it as frequently as other platforms like YouTube or to Instagram or to TikTok and etc. Right? And
right.
so the staying power on LinkedIn is actually crazy. You can have like a post that stays on your feed for like weeks, 2 weeks or something like that.
Yeah,
So it's interesting. I feel like if you continue to put out so much more content on LinkedIn, you're going to continue to accumulate a much larger and larger following because the reach on LinkedIn compared to a lot of other platforms, it's really really high.
indeed. Yes. And one of my first connections also posted again with a very, very long caption, very Quora esque caption. And one of the key lines from that was one follower on LinkedIn is equal to 10 plus followers on Instagram. And I took that screenshot and posted it and gave it a caption and 10 times, 100 times cringier as well. And he took offense on it. And he identified that it was the screenshot from his own post, and he commented on that post. Why did you? I mean, I think it's something he wrote something like, "You are trying too hard to be funny." I already know that, but anyway, so you can't offend me on something that I am already aware of.
So Kunal, for the record, I have to say I've been following you for whatever, however number of years. I don't even remember at this point, but I always find your content super duper funny. Always, like sometimes it feels like, oh, this guy's trying too hard, but most
Yeah,
of the times it's just always laughs me makes me laugh out loud. So again, if not this is not for everyone, but whoever understands, definitely give a follow to Kunal on LinkedIn and other platforms as well. Okay, so you also give out passive income advices as well, right?
yeah. And I typically
um,
do it on Saturday. And for your listeners, we are recording this on a Saturday. And I have not posted, I have not given out an advice in the last since the last 2 3 Saturdays. And the advice again is a take on everyone trying to be an influencer in India. I'm not sure about the rest of the world, but right now the hot market for influencers in India is to be in finance.
right.
And
Yep.
and I mean, I've at least tried to study finance for like 5 years of my life. So it's like you are a scientist and someone on YouTube is explaining science in a very, very shoddy manner, and you get outraged about it. So
Hmm.
that's the feeling that I get sometimes. Given my profession itself is in finance, I've studied finance, and these 15 to 20-year olds who have had a pocket money of whatever 200 rupees every day are giving out advice to adults on how to manage their millions of rupees. That's quite funny. And the funniest thing is that brands are actually wanting to have these kids promote their products through them. So yeah, so one genre within that finance influencer is giving out passive income advices. Everything is
Hmm.
a passive income. Even your main job is becoming passive income. It's no longer an active income. So that's quite funny. So
Uh-huh.
that's when I thought of this idea that I'll
Hmm.
post videos every Saturday. I mean, I later decided that it's going to be every Saturday because there's only so many passive incomes you can think of even as a joke. So and these are advices like sell your wife or whatever, take money
Sell your
from your
wife.
father. I don't know, whatever. Obviously, I'm not done.
Go to your what like wife's house and they pay you money in India, right? Like
Yeah,
they
yeah.
give gifts,
That was one
so
of the
things like
recent
that.
ones that yeah. So in the so the context for that for your international audience is that in India, when you go to your in-laws house, you're typically given an envelope of money. So my passive income tip was that go to your in-laws house every weekend. So you,
That's actually pretty funny. It's
yeah,
actually pretty funny.
Okay, so what passive income advice you have for today's Saturday, right? So
yeah.
anything that you posted recently that you want to share?
I've not posted it yet. I'll try it out with you. If you laugh, I'll post it online. Uh, so
Okay.
this passive income. So you know how people within finance influencer economy they keep saying that you don't need to buy a house. Keep saying on rent
Hmm.
and blah blah blah. So my passive income tip for this week is since my father has an owned house, I'll take that house from him and start earning revenue in terms of rent from him. I'll start taking rent from him for allowing him to stay in his own house. That's going to be my passive income. Already, I've not phrased it in the manner which can sound more tight, so to say.
Hmm.
But
Okay.
that's the passive income I was thinking about today.
Nice.
Okay,
that's,
Nice.
that's a decent one. I think it has to be fine tuned a little bit, like phrased the
yeah,
correct way. But yeah, that I can see that being
correct.
pretty funny if it's phrased the right way.
So I think one question everybody's dying to ask you, right? Like, do you get paid by LinkedIn for writing all of this stuff? Like, what's the
I wish, I wish,
motivation?
I wish that was my actual passive income.
You could get paid by Instagram though. You just got to put out video content with
Yeah,
those jokes.
yeah, yes.
Yes.
So I was approached by and I was paid by a couple of brands in the last 2 3 months. I've done some paid content for them. but I make it a point that I write either on top or at the end of that post that this is a paid content and this is an ad, whatever. Because again, that's I don't believe in any of that shit, anything that's written seriously for a brand. Uh, but yeah, I've I've earned pennies from a couple of brands in the past, but definitely not from LinkedIn. And so LinkedIn keeps running this annual programs. Last year it was, I think, LinkedIn uh, This year it's called LinkedIn Creator Accelerator, and last year it was called LinkedIn Top Voice, wherein they identify a few hundred people from a certain geography and tell them to post certain things that they are known within their communities for.
Mhm.
And I jokingly also filled that form this year. And within that content, what do you post about? I obviously wrote, I post about I post about LinkedIn lunatics or whatever, LinkedIn people who are idiots. So they obviously they did not shortlist me for their creator accelerator program. No point to get that.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty. That's a funny concept. Is you applied to to become like selected for making fun of LinkedIn.
Yeah, and I would
Yeah.
like to take some credit for forcing LinkedIn to bring in the laugh react a couple of months back, whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
because there are not many people who are, or at least are trying to be funny on LinkedIn. Everyone is very serious. And I don't think everyone is getting jobs despite being that serious from LinkedIn. So why not
Why not just have
be
some fun
funny?
out of the
Yeah,
process? So
exactly,
that makes
exactly.
sense.
Although I think a couple of weeks back I received from LinkedIn's India news editor. I received an email from them. They wanted my views on something, whatever, about some finance or on actually it was about the creator economy, as they call it these days. Uh, so and they wanted my views on that post through commenting on that. So I thought, I mean, that's beneath me. To put it
And in
subtly.
some ways, I mean, it would be super funny. So basically, you're making fun of the influencers, right? Like, what
Yes.
the funniest thing will be that you become one in the process, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
Yeah, it's like a parody of an influencer turned influencer.
Yeah. That's
That's awesome.
that's going to
That's
be fun.
awesome.
I keep getting this message. I get at least a couple of people every day. Not every day. That's too much. Every week, who write into me that they find my content funny and they call me influencer. And I say I've never been uh, accused of being an influencer. So please don't call me that. They don't
Awesome.
get it.
Awesome. Talked about creating content, right? Like you use you basically go through all the what's going on, what's trending on social media, and try to make fun of those things.
Right.
But for your own personal taste, like what do you, how do you consume uh, media, right? What's your like typical go-to platforms and so on?
Right. So firstly,
So
uh, for what I write online, either through LinkedIn or anywhere else, I don't have a process, so to say, because I don't want for it to become a second job for me. I just write whatever comes to my mind, and most of the
mhm,
times it's very obvious. I'm a First of all, I'm a very, very, very addictive social media user. Be it
mm,
LinkedIn or Instagram. I used to spend 4 hours every day on Instagram.
Wow.
I hope my employer is not listening to this podcast. So and I had to cut down the Instagram usage by installing another app which stops the usage after a certain number of minutes, which I have input
mhm,
myself. After which it will be blocked for another 24 hours. So that's the first thing. I'm a social media addict myself, and I'm
mhm,
trying to be a recovering addict, and I've written about it in one of the more serious posts that I write
mhm,
sometimes on LinkedIn. So there's no process to writing, but there's definitely a filtering to what I listen to or what I watch or what I consume online. So
mhm,
I think YouTube knows me better than Instagram. So I keep getting long form explainer videos like Johnny Harris, uh,
mhm,
and there are some science channels. I don't know. I can't recall the name. I think it's Nile Ride that I keep getting videos of. I don't
Mhm.
understand half of the science, but it sounds fancy and it's long form content, and I think that is required for an addict, social media addict like me, to keep my brain sharp enough to not become an influencer eventually. But that's what I consume online on YouTube. And apart from that, I like to watch stand-up comedy. Typically Indian stand-up comedy. Puneet Pania,
Mhm.
Anubhav Pal are my favorites, and George Carlin is my all-time international favorite. And then I listen to a couple of podcasts, again, mostly Indian podcasts. And I
Mhm.
think the best podcast on this earth is that of Anubhav Pal and Kunal Kapoor. It's called Our Last Week. I would highly recommend uh, listening to that if you've not yet done that. And
Mhm.
and then there's another video podcast, long form, 1 hour, 1.5 hour interviews called Dost Cast, Dostcast. That's
Mhm.
something that I watch.
All right. Next round is rapid fire. So first thing that comes
Sure,
to mind. Let's go. All right. Are you ready?
sure, yeah.
All right. So tea or coffee?
I think tea any day.
Okay. Mountains or beaches?
Beaches. Mountains in India are very, very, very risky to go to.
Okay. Morning person or night owl?
I think I'm a morning person. And that's when I think of my Saturday passive incomes also.
All right. What's your favorite comfort food?
It's pizza, pizza,
Always. Domino's? Is that what you're talking about? Or
whatever.
something else?
Heavy toppings. Whoever can give me a naan-like bread with a in the base, and good topping of chicken.
Okay.
Awesome. Awesome. What's your favorite
You see,
virtual in
I don't
others?
have very refined tastes, as you can clearly see. I'm not a wine connoisseur. Anyway,
Okay.
sorry.
Yeah, no, I was saying, so next question was, what's your favorite virtue in others?
What's my favorite? What?
Virtue in others, quality in others.
Virtue in others.
Mm-hmm.
I think self-awareness is my favorite virtue. Yeah.
Makes sense.
People who know
Interesting.
that they are smart, people who know that they are idiots. Basically, you should know who you are.
I think it's a funny comment because smart people will know, but idiots typically don't know because they are idiots, right? So
No, I
like
think
it's very hard to be self-aware when you're
And if they don't know, you like to tell people, like with your page, the I forgot what it was in Hindi, but you are a buffoon. That
yes,
page.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yeah. But no, I think there are quote unquote idiots I've come across in my life who know that they are idiots because their friends or family have told them so. And
I
after a
see, I
while,
see.
they internalize it, and then they realize that yeah, they don't have much of an IQ to boast about, but probably they are good at other things.
Makes sense. Makes sense. All right. So, what's your biggest pet peeve?
My biggest pet peeve is uh, it's just not being able to have a conversation with someone that I've met on day zero. I mean, and
Mm-hmm.
that's actually one of my pastimes over the weekends or after office. I like to talk to people who I have not had any conversations with. And typically, I mean, I was treating this podcast with you also as a first date. And I used, before I got married, uh, before I got married, I used to go on I've gone on quite a few number of first dates, and they were all, most of them were all very great conversation, led to very great conversations.
Mm-hmm.
So someone not being able to have a conversation, I mean, someone I am not being able to have a conversation with is my biggest pet peeve.
Got it. I just that makes me wonder. How does your wife react to all of your jokes and everything that you probably? I'm assuming you're throwing around almost constantly.
So she's okay with it. She said that I'm okay with it as long as you don't tag me in any of your posts because I have a job to do. Uh, but 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 the inside scoop is that she is a TV writer, and anyone who has watched TV in India knows what kind of content is written. People like daughter-in-laws hanging from a curtain and dying suddenly in a split second is what she writes. I mean, she has no
Oh
right to
no,
judge me.
seriously?
Yeah,
Wow.
Wow.
Dude,
Okay.
I feel like there'd be endless amount of content that you can write parodies about that
yeah.
topic.
I
Yeah,
I actually, I mean, my Instagram account is private, but if you follow me, I have one of the highlights. I mean, one of my highlights is about Indian TV BTS behind the scenes,
yeah.
wherein I shoot her while she is talking to her colleagues, other writers on a particular show, and how they're discussing how they want to make the protagonist woman sit in a utensil and be boiled overnight, and scenes like that.
No. Really? Is that for real?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So currently she is writing the show called, I mean, among other shows, she's writing the show called Imli. IMLIE is how it's spelled. And within that, there was an episode wherein Imli, the protagonist of the show, was supposed to go into hiding from whatever goons who were after her, and she's at a party. She's at a big,
Mhm.
massive Indian wedding, and she chooses to go into hiding in a tandoor. I don't know. It's a tandoor
Like
is
in a
basically
mud
big,
oven.
yeah, earthen oven.
Mhm.
And she and then there another that makes for another 5 episodes of curiosity among the viewers whether she is going to make it to the outside of that oven
Wow.
alive.
Hmm.
Yeah. So she's a story and screenwriter for Star Plus. So
So
yeah, she has to
basically,
write.
in some senses, I feel like you guys are the exact opposite of the when it comes
Yes,
to the
yes.
content, right?
But the good thing is that these writers, from what I've experienced, she has been writing for like 5.5 years for this
Mhm.
channel, different shows, same
Mhm.
genre. And I've talked to some of her co-writers, and I've been as a passive listener on so many of these development calls, writing
Mhm.
development calls. These all these people seem to be very self-aware of what they're writing, what they're doing. They know that who they are writing for. So yeah.
Right.
And
Got it.
but otherwise, she's on the opposite end. I'm very extrovert. I'm
Mhm.
very in your face, and she's an introvert. She doesn't want that limelight at all. Although she is the one who is getting her name on TV every night.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, yeah. Her name is becoming very
yeah.
recognizable.
Yes. Yes.
Very interesting. Wow. Okay, I did not know that, Kunal. Thanks so much for sharing that. All right. So, what's aside from what you've already spoken about, right, writing and everything else, what's
Right.
your secret superpower?
I think my secret superpower is to observe stuff, uh, even in the most strenuous situations. Like I can observe and try to find the comedy out of it. I can.
Hmm.
There have been scenes in my life where my father is in the hospital, or my grandmother was in the hospital, and everyone. I mean, all my aunts and uncles were there, and their kids were there,
Hmm.
and I was still observant enough to find the comedy out of it. And then eventually, when they got well, I told them how I was feeling during those hours, and they laughed about it.
Nice, nice.
Very interesting. Yeah. Okay.
That's my superpower.
Amazing. Amazing. Love that. All right. So, last question in the series.
Sure.
What's been your biggest accomplishment last 1 or 2 years?
Uh, I think getting married to my long-term girlfriend was one of the biggest achievements because her father was not at all willing to 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 have us marry each other. And the
Does
other,
he follow you on LinkedIn or what?
no, no, no.
I'm
He
just
would
kidding.
stop giving me those cash envelopes every week.
Yeah, your passive
Yeah,
income source would
my
dry up.
will go down the drain. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
that's one
That's
of the biggest achievements in the last couple of years.
that's amazing. That's huge. I know it can be
And
huge in
and
India.
being on a podcast as a as a guest is my
Yeah,
new, yeah.
that's a good one. I like that one. It's like
It,
you can add that to another checkbox for your list there for biggest
yes,
accomplishments.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, that brings us to the end of the rapid fire round. And
Sure.
before we close, do you have any recommendations for our listeners? And a recommendation could be any piece of stand-up comedy or TV show, movie, book, anything you've watched recently that is very interesting.
I think the general recommendation would be to to try to learn. I mean, it's not a content recommendation, but I'll start with the recommendation like a motivational guru that I am. Uh, I would recommend everyone to just look within and revere nothing in their life, and then that's when they'll be able to identify who they really are and who everyone around them really is. Uh,
Hmm.
I mean, love is something that I believe in, but
Hmm.
it doesn't mean that people who you love cannot be flawed. That's how most of us put them on a pedestal. So that's the general recommendation. And then recommendation in terms of content, like I said, our last week, I mean, it has international as well as Indian context, and it's an English podcast. It's one of the funniest, best podcasts ever I have, and I've been listening to it for the last whatever 5 6 7 years.
Hmm.
And then in terms of uh, TV shows, Succession is something that I liked a lot, so
Hmm.
definitely watch that if you haven't. Uh, in terms of stand-up comedy, my favorite has been Jimmy Carr. Yeah, I think Carr. Jimmy Carr. He's a British comedian whose comedy is that of an insult comedy. He reveres nothing again. Uh, Probably that's why I like him. And
Yeah.
George Carlin. He has never tried to be funny. He is one of those comedians who do not write punch after punch after punch. He writes a 15-minute essay and then I mean, he's dead now for the last 15 years or so. But his sets were all like 15, 20 minutes essays about his frustration with modern world. And then eventually you'll get a comic relief at the end. And that's the greatest piece of comedy I've ever seen in stand-up comedy.
All right.
Awesome.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you so much, Kunal, for joining. This was an absolute blast. If you guys are not already connected to the Your Life Unfiltered podcast, please like, share, and subscribe. You can follow us on Instagram. Our handle is at Your Life Unfiltered. If you'd like, you can also give our host a follow. That'd be at Kothari2, KOTHARI2, as well as at underscore Deepam underscore. That's at underscore DEEPAM underscore. Thank you all for joining. This was an
And
absolute
Kunal,
blast. Yep.
sorry. And Kunal's handle, what's your handle, Kunal, on Instagram? I don't know if
Instagram
you want to
handle
mention.
it's Kun Fire Kun. Again, it's a pun on one of the Indian songs. But it's KUNNFIRE Kun Fire Kun. But it's a private account. But if you have a
Oh, okay.
good photo, I'll probably let you in.
Right, let's do it.
Sounds
Thanks,
good.
thanks for having me. It was great fun.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Take
Thanks,
care.
everyone.